In the Element Wealth Studios. Dr. Randy Easterling, family care physician, is our guest on Middays. Dr. Easterling, good to see you, sir.
Good to see you. How you doing?
I'm doing great. So we got the news, I guess, yesterday that the first case of monkeypox has been identified and recorded in the state of Mississippi. What does that mean to us? Do you think there are other cases out there as a result?
Of course, if you track back about 2.5 years ago when we identified our first case of COVID, within a matter of days, we had 10, 20, 30, 40, however many. Now, hopefully we don't have that many monkeypox in Mississippi, but I can guarantee you if you've isolated one, there's a number of cases out there.
Yeah, so the reports are that this is a highly transmissible condition. What should we do?
Let me just kind of walk through this if you don't mind. Monkeypox was first discovered in 1958. It was isolated in humans in 1970. And the first cases in the United States were about 2003. So it's only been in the United States about 19 years. And there were some animals shipped over, I believe, from West Africa in 2003. And that's how it kind of caught on in the United States. So this is something we've got to be mindful of, something we've got to be keep our guard up, just like we have with COVID. Hopefully we've got 2.5 years of experience under our belt, and we've learned some things about transmitting the viruses that are going to help us deal with this.
So what about is it possible that a person could contract monkeypox and COVID simultaneously?
Yes, I would think that's possible. Now, understand, I'm not an expert on monkeypox, but I don't think there's anybody in the state that is. There's certainly some people probably at the medical center and the health department know more about it than I do, but probably no practicing physician, I would think, in Mississippi has seen a case. There's probably some at the medical center that have done tropical medicine, things like that. But conceivably, I guess you could have both at the same time. Monkeypox is kind of in the family of smallpox. There's some clear differentiations, of course, between monkeypox and smallpox. The main thing being that in monkeypox you get what's called lymphadenopathy. You get these large lymph nodes in your cervical area and also in your axilla under your arms, and also you have fever and malaise and then you develop this rash, which is pretty characteristic of the monkeypox. And then and it goes into the palms of your hands and the soles of your feet and so forth. So there is some obvious differences.
What sort of treatments are available?
Well, the treatments are mostly supportive. To my knowledge, there is a vaccine that's out. Excuse me, it's very scarce in Mississippi so far. I think I read last night that there were 300,000 cases 300,000 vaccines that the United States owns that's been held in Denmark for some reason, and I think they're being shipped over. But if someone who's at high risk, someone who's immunocompromised, for example, or maybe elderly and have some serious medical problems, is exposed to monkeypox, then you can get the vaccine, and it will not necessarily prevent you from getting monkeypox, but it'll be kind of like the COVID vaccine. It will make the illness much less severe. So,
gotcha.
But again, the vaccines in Mississippi are very limited at this point.
So are you hearing that there may be some ramping up of production of the vaccine to make it more accessible?
I would hope so, and I think the federal government is certainly looking into that. Again, those 300,000 dosages are belong to the United States and should be being shipped over here. As of this morning, we had 3,487 cases of monkeypox in the United States. Now, that's as of this morning. By the end of the day today, it'll be easily 4,000, if not even higher than that. So we'll just have to watch it and see how it grows.
So how severe could it get, Dr. Easterling? Could put you in the hospital? Could it result in death?
Well, sure. It's unlikely that you die from monkeypox, from what I've read, but it has certainly happened. I don't think there's any recorded deaths in the United States that I'm aware of, but he's only been in the United States 19 years. Most cases, it is highly transmittable. It's transmitted by body-to-body contact primarily, and it's the LGBT community as where it's kind of got ramped up initially. But any contact with someone who has monkeypox in terms of body secretions, hugging, kissing, having close relationship, being in someone's face, even breathing their, their in the air, you can contract it that way. But once you get it, you go through a period of 2 to 4 weeks of where you're sick and you have again fever and malaise and rash and so forth. But it's unlikely that you're going to die from it. But you can.
Wow. And so what about being hospitalized? Is that something that it could come to as well? I guess it depends on how severe the case is, right?
You could come to that, and just like with COVID again, because this is again a virus. It depends on how sick you are when you get it. The older you are, the more debilitated you are, the more immunocompromised you are. Then those are the people that are going to be at higher risk. And I'm making an assumption also the younger you are would be would put you at higher risk too.
Yeah, so some reports I've read, Dr. Easterling, you mentioned the risk in the LGBTQ community is that most of the cases are found among male gay men.
Yeah, and we started referring to that from a public health standpoint as men who have sex with men, and that's where it, at least at this point, is more commonly found in the LGBTQ community. But hopefully we'll get our arms around this thing and people will act responsibly. That's the key to this, to managing any public health crisis, is people need to act responsibly. And I just hope to God that we've learned something the last 2.5 years. I know I'm repeating myself from COVID, but if you're around someone that has a rash and you have to be, wear a mask. Try not to be. Certainly don't touch the lesions. More importantly, don't be around them unless you just absolutely have to. And then pay attention to your own body. If you start running a fever and you feel weak and tired and coughing, congestion, and so on and so forth, and then certainly if you break out in a rash and get lymphadenopathy, you need to see your physician right away.
What about quarantining and isolating if one, say, detects these symptoms and feels like they got it? First, is there a test for it? Is that widely available?
Well, I don't know how widely available it is, but you swab the lesion. And then my assumption is that was sent off to the CDC. Now, there are some, we have an excellent health department, and they do some tests here that a lot of other health departments don't do. So that test may be available here in Jackson, but I don't know that for sure. But even if you swab the lesion, they overnight it to the CDC in Atlanta, and they would run that test there. So it's not like it's a big delay.
So what about quarantining, isolation?
Oh yeah, sure. And you would want to do that with, you'd want to do that with the flu. You'd want to do that with chicken pox. You'd certainly want to do that with COVID, and you'd do it with monkeypox too.
Is there a standard on monkey? I'm sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt. Just wonder if there's a standard isolation or quarantine period. And the CDC issued fairly definitive guidelines on that, of course, with respect to COVID, and those evolved through the COVID pandemic. What about monkeypox in terms of the length of time?
Well, right now, again, the incubation period can be from 1 to 2 weeks, and you're not infectious then. But when you start having fever, malaise, and you start having headache and weakness, that's prodromal phase. At that point, you are infectious. So you should certainly be isolated then. Then you get the adenopathy, you get the rash, which may last another week or so. But once that rash scabs over, once all the lesions have scabbed over, then your ability to shed the virus goes down drastically. Now, the rash is interesting, and I've seen pictures of it, never seen it on a person, but it tends to be more peripheral. In other words, it's more on your legs and your hands and your face than it is in the central part of your body. And that doesn't mean you can't have some on the central part, but it's more centrifugal, what we call. In other words, it's on the arms, legs, face, and not so much on the trunk.
Does it have to manifest to the point, Dr. Easterling, where the rashes are visible before one can spread it to someone else?
Well, once you start the prodromal phase, which is fever, malaise, weakness, all that, then you are infectious at that point. Then you get the rash. The rash comes after the fever.
I got you. Dr. Easterling, appreciate you coming on and giving us that interesting overview. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, and have a good day.
You too. Middays, we'll take a break right here. We'll come right back. More to talk about in the Element Wealth studios. Stay with us.